Today's lesson is on solving triangles. Sometimes for a right triangle, the size of the angle needs to be found. On the calculator, above the sine, cos, and tan button are sine to the -1, cos to the -1, and tan to the -1. Each of these are an inverse of the function. Inverse function means it undoes the function. Okay, so the sine button and the sine to the -1 button are opposites of each other. If you have the value of the ratio of the trig function, so you know what the decimal is, you can actually find out what the angle is. So we're going to practice this with your calculator and some examples. The sine of 20, if you put in your calculator, will give you the ratio of 0.3420. Now I want you to locate the second function button on your calculator, and you're going to press in second function of sine. That will make it do the sine to the -1 button, and it will give you the inverse. So push in second function sine, 0.3420. What you'll get for an answer is 20. Okay, let's try it with the cos of 43, 0.7314. And then if I press in cos, second function cos, I will get 43. What the calculator is doing is it's saying for the ratio of 0.7314, what is the angle? And using the second function button will actually tell you the angle, so 43. So let's try a couple more. The tan of 71 is 2.9042, 71 degrees. So you're going to press in second function and then tan whenever you're looking for the angle. So if you have the angle like sine of 35, you just push sine 35. 0.5736 will be in your calculator. If you want to find the angle, that's when you use the second function of sine and press in 0.5736, and you'll get 35 degrees. Okay, so try the rest of them. I'll just write down the answers so you can double check what you were doing. You'll notice the first and the third columns have the same answer. So all you're doing is figuring out the value of the ratio and then take the ratio and figuring out the angle, so going backwards. All right, so we often will use inverse functions in math because subtraction undoes addition, division undoes multiplication, squaring and square roots are inverse operations. Okay, so when you get a question and it says for you to solve an unknown, label your triangle. So we know this is the hypotenuse. Look from the angle that you are working with. This will be the opposite, and this will be the adjacent. So the two sides we have to work with in this triangle are opposite and adjacent. We know then that we're going to use tan, because tan is opposite over adjacent. So it helps a lot if you know your combinations of your three trig functions. So the tan of x equals 5.8 over 3.2. So the tan of x equals, so take this fraction and turn it into a decimal. Okay, now you have the tan of the unknown angle equals 1.8125. So this is when you use your second function button. So second function, this is what you type into your calculator. Second function tan 1.8125. Okay, so that's what you would type into your calculator. Press equals, and you get that your angle will be 61. And it's an angle, so make sure you put your answer with a degree sign. So the angle that makes an opposite over adjacent ratio of 1.8125 is 61 degrees. To solve a right triangle, we have a couple of different options. We have the Pythagoras' theorem, or we can use the trig ratios. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We also have the sine of x is opposite over hypotenuse, which we've created an acronym to learn the different combinations. It's called Sohcahtoa. So is S-O sine opposite hypotenuse. Ca is C-A-H. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And toa is T-O-A, which is tan is opposite over adjacent. So that might help you, Sohcahtoa, to remember what your combinations are. So when you have a question that says solve the given triangle, we need to find the missing parts. So I'm missing this part, side A. I'm also missing angle A, and I'm missing angle B. Okay? So we tried to figure, we're going to need to figure out the angles using the trig functions, and we can find the missing side A using Pythagoras' theorem. So let's try finding the side first. It probably doesn't matter what order we do this in, but we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals 15 squared. 64 plus b squared equals 225. B squared equals 161. I got 161 because I subtracted 64 to get it over to the other side. To undo the squaring, I square root, and b equals 12.7. Okay, be careful not to round it to a whole number. That makes it look like it came out as an exact answer. All right, so I have that answer. Now, I can use the side I calculate, but I try not to. If I can use given sides, then I probably have less of a chance of error. So in this angle B, so let's try and find angle B. The opposite side is 8. The hypotenuse is 15. So I have the opposite. I have the hypotenuse. So I am going to actually use the sine function. Okay? So sine of B is 8 over 15. Sine of B is 0.53. Now into your calculator, you're going to push second function, sine 0.53. That's actually what you're doing. What you're doing is the second function of the ratio to find that the angle B is 32 degrees. Okay? We're going to use the cos function to find A, because that way I still am using these two given numbers, because 8 is the adjacent. So this time I'm going to use cos of A is 8 over 15. Notice that I have the same ratio, and I'm actually going to have the same decimal. But I'm using a different function. I'm using the cos function. So second function, cos 0.53, will give me angle A equals 58 degrees. And we can check to make sure we have the right answer, because 32 degrees plus 58 degrees plus the 90-degree angle that I had, because it's a right triangle, equals 180 degrees. Yes, I did the work right, and I have the right answer. What angle is created by a guy wire that's 8.5 meters long, attached 5.7 meters from the base of the pole? So I want to know what this angle is. We have to determine the sides we know. Okay? This side would be opposite. Well, we don't know the opposite side. We do know the adjacent side, and we do know the hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse is cos. Cos of B equals 5.7 over 8.5. Make that into a decimal, 0.6706. Use the second function of cos to find out that angle B is 48 degrees. What is the angle of depression from a point 10.1 meters downhill if the horizontal distance is 6.9? So I'm looking from angle, Y is the one I'm looking for. So the side that I know on here, that's adjacent, and I know hypotenuse. So again, that's a cos question. Cos of Y equals 6.9 over 10.1. Divide to make a decimal. Cos of Y is 0.6832. So your second function of cos is gives you the angle y of 47 degrees. So to calculate the angle, you always use the second function button, which undoes the ratio. It says take the ratio of the sides and tell me what angle that would be. Okay, the angle between the side of a house and the glass roof of a small bay window, what's the angle between there? So this angle right in here. If the bay window is 75 inches deep, and the vertical displacement of the roof is 42 inches. So I have this triangle. I do not have the hypotenuse. So as soon as I know I don't have the hypotenuse, I know I'm using tan. So the tan of angle L is 75 because it's opposite over adjacent. Opposite of this angle here, you shoot an arrow straight out, is going to hit the side that's 75. The tan of L is 1.7857. I got that by dividing 75 divided by 42. Use the second function button, tan 1.7857. This is what you push into your calculator, and angle L is 61 degrees. We are trying to find the angle of elevation from the bottom to the landing. So we're replacing some front steps. This is the ground, this is the landing, and we know the distance between the distance between the ground and the landing is 8.6 meters, and the stairs end 1.2 meters from the edge of the landing. So we know those two sides, and we want to know the angle of elevation. So this bottom angle, we do not know the hypotenuse. We know the adjacent, the opposite and the adjacent. So opposite is always straight across. Adjacent is touching the angle. So we are going to use the tan function. The tan of G is 8.6, which is opposite over adjacent, 1.2. Divide to get a decimal, 0.7167. Using your second function button, second function of tan, 0.7167, you get 36 degrees. So the angle of elevation is 36 degrees. Okay, so we are going to practice these new skills with Build Your Skills and Practice Your Skills in your workbook. When you think you're ready for the assessment, I need you to do the chapter test as a review. Make sure you can do all three trig functions, finding a side and finding an angle with the trig functions, as well as Pythagoras' theorem.